question from the audience. Multiple candidates claim a lack of transparency. However, meetings are recorded, budgets are posted, audits are performed, amongst other open process. If you believe there is a lack of transparency, can you give some examples and how would you change this?
Early in my campaign for an Amherst School Board seat, I raised issues of transparency. Since then, I have turned my focus on moving forward rather than looking back. However, citizens have asked, what are these transparency issues? For that reason, I have decided to detail just some of the issues within this district. This is not for the purpose of pointing fingers. The intent is to identify problems so that solutions can be presented for those problems. Let's start with the roof at Amherst Middle School, which has leaked for years to the detriment of our students and teachers.
If you go to AMS, pretty much every ceiling tile has some sort of stain on it from a leaky roof. We're doing a lot of projects there. We have about a $14 million roof project we're doing right now, but that's only scratching the surface on the work that needs to get done. So we have facilities that are old that need a lot of work. We're going to have HVAC issues here. There'll be 10 to 15 million in the next 5 to 10 years. So we're going to spend money.
The roof is presented to the community as a $14 million project and $15 million every other time I heard it mentioned. However, details of the roof project show the roof to only take up $3.3 million of the project. The majority is for electrical, lighting, mechanicals, HVAC, windows, and so on. Why were the people of Amherst never given opportunity to vote on a $3 million warrant article to address our leaking roofs at AMS years ago? Apparently, priority was placed on getting the Wilkins demo and rebuild project passed, potentially causing delays to crucial maintenance elsewhere in the district. At Amherst Middle School, students and teachers walked around barrels catching waterlogged ceiling tiles for years.
Next phase is we're trying to get rid of the 1972 portion, then we go into 1974 roofing portion. Those roofs have paid for themselves. They've done their justice. Although they're leaking in some areas that we are still chasing repairs, they've seen their time.
So my question is on the financing of these projects or processes. Do you feel comfortable the way you're doing it? So just
whatever you want.
Okay.
I'm always, in my experience, I never wanted to be completely honest in this group. I never wanted two bonds to be on the same warrant.
No.
Never wanted it. And the priority for the bond has to be Clark Wilkins. I mean, it has to be Clark Wilkins. So until you operationalize that bond, I would still do the pay as you go, but then you could talk about bonds for AMS if you wanted to. But I'm pretty comfortable with pay as you go, efficiency on the money.
The topic of discussion here is how we will pay for roof replacement at Amherst Middle School. A $3.3 million warrant article could have addressed our leaking roofs immediately. However, as you just heard, apparently competing warrant articles were undesirable, and so passing the Wilkins project takes priority. Once that's passed, then focus can turn to AMS. So then how is the roof repaired in sections over the last few years? There are still sections of roof requiring replacement, but how were the repaired sections funded? The answer is through fund balance, essentially money left over at the end of the year. This presents serious issues, though, when used to fund major maintenance projects that needed to be done years ago.
Your 600,000, 605 last year, 675 is the payment. Yeah. So instead of saving,
right,
that's what we did. We took the fund balance to pay the bill. So it didn't go into, it wasn't a budget increase, but you're just in your head, you're paying it out of your maintenance trust. And so 600,000 is going in, 600,000 is coming out. So it's out of fund balance. So instead of saving for it,
but what happens if you don't get it that year?
You owe the fund balance?
Yeah.
You always do. Which means you freeze the budget and
until you hit it.
Until you hit it. That's what we did every year. We froze the budget to hit it.
That's where it's tricky because it's like, well, then just put it in the budget.
That's right.
And to me, that's more transparent.
Board member Gascoigne is correct. Freezing the budget is not at all transparent, and if done, can cause real harm to the educational experience within our schools. Essentially, the budget is frozen prior to the end of the school year to ensure enough is left over for predetermined projects. That directly affects our teachers and students. Crucial maintenance items should almost always be funded through warrant articles, putting the matter into the voters' hands. Another concern I have is the quote rough estimate of $34 million to simply rehab Wilkins. This $34 million estimate has apparently been provided in full or in large part by the construction company that stands to make millions from the current Wilkins proposal.
Last meeting, we talked about that status quo number and breaking that out a little bit more. So Amy and Roger have done some work on that, and I just wanted this committee to see it as well. Because it's something you have asked for and we've talked about, so.
Yeah.
Do you mind kind of
So-
grabbing-
What do you mean by eye level?
It is not,
Versus.
it is rough.
What
It is not, there's been, Roger has worked with our construction management company, DEW, to kind of flesh out major, projects that would need to be completed. We don't have it all detailed out and all costed, and that would be a lot of work to do, that if we have to do it, we'll do it, but don't necessarily want to spend a lot of money and time doing that.
The issue is, we've already spent a lot of money doing that. In 2017, we spent tens of thousands on extensive capital needs assessments of all our facilities, including Wilkins. There are striking differences between this extensive capital needs assessment that has been replaced by the current rough status quo repair figures. First, the capital needs plan laid out 20 years of maintenance amounting to $3 million, taking inflation into account. Recent discussions with maintenance managers have confirmed costs have held true to present day. Asbestos removal is not included in this plan, and estimates I've seen range from hundreds of thousands up to $2 million. Even taking into account the most aggressive cost escalation rates, I simply cannot see how we get from $3 to $5 million to the currently suggested $34 million figures, especially taking into account that the insured replacement value of Wilkins is only about $8 million for the building. Furthermore, the consultant that did the capital needs assessment stood to gain nothing from any future construction, whereas the construction company we get most or all of our figures from now stands to make millions. And finally, I have some concerns over an apparent lack of due diligence and or transparency when it comes to past safety and quality issues with our chosen contractor.
Can you talk about your safety record? Either of the companies would be great to hear.
What about the safety program record wise? There have been a few OSHA violations happens on sites. Some of them are worked through, some of them are minor, some of them are misunderstandings, some of them are trade partners, but at the end of the day, we're the controlling contractor on the site and we own the safety.
It raises concern when I hear OSHA violations being described as minor or misunderstandings when just a little research uncovers a serious OSHA violation that apparently resulted in thousands of dollars in fines. The serious violation was related to fall safety, a leading cause of death in the field of construction. This happened as recently as 2022. Furthermore, I have concerns of the Amherst School Board doing their due diligence when I discover an ongoing lawsuit that a chosen contractor is battling right now in the courts. The client alleges serious construction defects, including a failing building envelope, leaking roofs, failing weather barrier, faulty windows, frames, and so on. This lawsuit mirrors a previous lawsuit that I brought to the Amherst School Board's attention last year, and I question whether or not real questions are being asked so as to protect the community of Amherst if it proceeds with this $53 million project. Now, I raise these concerns of transparency not to bash or unfairly criticize people or companies. I raise them because in order to find solutions to problems, you must first identify those problems. In a past video, I pointed out that Sauhegan board member Dan Veyo impressed upon the importance of asking and yes, fielding tough questions. I agree with this statement. And to fix problems in our district, I must point them out so that we can all work together to go about fixing them. If you share any of the concerns that I have touched on in this video and would like to go about addressing those concerns, please consider voting Aaron Kaplan for Amherst School Board. Everyone has a voice.